very good morning, all. We have gathered for yet another interesting Ecotech talk of Exneco today. And we have with us Mr. Ranjan Ghosh, who is the CEO of D2SS Consultancy. He has a vast industrial experience of more than 3 decades and is the alma mater of prestigious London School of Economics. In his career, he has handled major projects at Gale and has headed many consultancy projects at organizations of repute. When it comes to business leadership, he is a pure gem, and we are honored to have him with us today. Our topic for the day is sustainable leadership. We will be talking about sustainable leadership, ESG, and circular economy in today's talk. We at Exneco are proud to have him for our Ecotech talk. Exneco stands for exploration, networking, and collaboration. We are trying to build a platform for sustainable enterprises for the common good. Myself, Shrestha, and I'm the host for the day. Welcome, sir, to today's Ecotech Talk. And my first question to you is enlighten us about D2SS and what motivated you to start this consultancy. What are the key objectives of the consultancy?
Thank you, Srishta. Thank you for having me on your platform. I'm really honored. And now to start with the question. In fact, DToSS was originally conceived as a management consulting firm for providing strategic and tactical advisory to industries and corporates, mainly to energy-related organizations. And energy-related organization means even fertilizers or petrochemicals. They also have the relation to the energy industry. So while I was leading multiple consulting programs, engaging famous global consulting agencies, I was overseeing both consulting and the Gale teams on behalf of Gale management and the board. That gave me an idea that there can be a model where I, as an individual, can lead the client's team to deliver or to create solutions for the organization. Such an approach will have multiple advantages. In fact, this example, the concept had come from my Gale days, where I led a very, very large project, which is called Project Next Wave, which is a 360-degree intervention for that program. Now, there, when I was doing that, I suddenly realized that, and we engaged before that project, I led several other consulting projects for Gale, which are the first project was with Ethically, were doing benchmarking, then organizational design, restructuring, and all those things. And then subsequently, I was given the charge of the strategy department, also an addition, strategy development and implementation. So I and my team started basically the first 10 years comprehensive strategy development project in Gale.
Okay.
That was 2002 to 12. And subsequently, another round of all through till my retirement, I was heading from 2002 onwards. I was heading the strategy and developments, implementations, and associated corporate planning teams. So then from there, I got that from these projects and from the project Next Wave, I got that idea that, see, basically what we are doing. I was leading the teams which had both from consultant side and Gale's identified senior management and middle management people. So this was the model. Then I realized that after my retirement, when I really started DToSS consulting, immediately the next day it started basically. I prepared for just before retirement. And so when I started, I thought that I'll follow this model where I'll not have the botheration or liability of a large team to go. I'll use client's team basically to use that my team also as a. So that's why when I started, and it has quite a few advantages over the conventional management consulting. For example, uh, you see, the management consulting firms like Gale always worked with the big firms. I have led those projects where KPMG, Deloitte, Boston Consulting Group, McKinsey, everybody worked with me and various projects. So there, they used to charge hell like 5 crore
Yeah.
for a 1 year project, 5 crore, 7 crore, like that. So what I thought, there'll be a drastic change on the cost of to the companies if we can test this model and drive the interventions. So first thing is getting identified client personnel trained on the process of my intervention. What happens? You see, we first do the interviewing of the top management team, means chairman and directors mainly, and get their perspectives at what they require, what they feel that the company requires for getting into transformed into a next level project company. So then we go to the senior management and middle management. Up to middle management, I identified a few people. Those are suggested by the top management that these are the key people you can talk to on their respective divisions and departments. So that way, I, in fact, connected and led a team of almost team means the people of 5,000 people in all across Gales installations, factories, pipelines, and everywhere, all departments and offices, and then got that engaged them for driving the team. We laid perfect a framework and structure that how we go about it, designed that, and then according to that we drove the projects. So that's why that motivated me to start this consulting firm. And since then, I have, advised multiple companies. And in fact, what happened immediately after I retired, I got multiple, offers from various other companies because energy industry I was a little known. So, but I refused to do that because I never wanted to go again to a after 60 years age and 50 years, 40 years of service. So I thought that I'll start something of my own, and mm, of course, money is a criteria, but it was the main purpose was not money. Purpose was to do something on various problem areas of industries and others. Like if you see my book cover, you will see it's a corporate and industry advisory, then the health, education, and social. So all these areas, the basic principle can be applied, which I basically on the job learned in Gale.
Yes.
And it will go very extensive, so I don't want to. If you have some questions, please feel free to intervene me.
Yeah, sure,
and
sir.
we'll start going into that.
So, in fact, it
And
was very good to know that you have handled such major projects and that you are started DOS consultancy and that you have been in a leadership role and you have worked for decades, like from 2002 to 2012, 2012 to 2020. Yeah, 2 to 12, you have actually for 10 years worked on one particular project which has now helped you to actually give shape to DOS and also that you have been in leadership role for such a long time and you are truly a gem when it comes to leadership. So, can you provide us examples of successful sustainable leadership projects you have facilitated for commercial or industrial clients? And what were the measurable outcomes in terms of cost savings and environment?
uh, to start with, I was working in Gale as an internal entrepreneur, driving that big project. That was a starting point, and that's the core of my all subsequent. So if I start from there, and just a little correction, uh, it's from 2002 to 12. I was not working on one project. I started multiple projects from all these consulting companies, the benchmarking projects, the strategy development projects, all these.
Okay.
The project Next Wave was the last project I delivered. There's a 360-degree intervention in all aspects of our operations of Gale.
Wonderful.
It starts from so that's the last project I did, and learnings from all these projects. I started, as I already explained, I started in a different model. This now sustainable leadership. You know, today's world, sustainable leadership is very difficult to explain unless we attach it to the sustainability itself. You see, for example, a leader who are not abreast with the current changes and what's happening into the world, and then because of these uncertainties, the leadership delivered, whether it will work sustainably or not over a long time. When I call sustainable leadership, it's not a short term aspect, it's a long term development of leadership. And sustainable leadership is not only to the top management, it is also the multiple level leaderships in the multiple areas. Those developments are also required. So I'll give an example of sustainable leadership in this context of that, where you, for example, the cyclability, or what happens, you develop, sorry, what I was telling, that the cyclability can be addressed in many projects which I have done also. But those days, these terms were not very fashionable. Even ESG and other AIML and all these things were not prevailing basically. But we were a very, those days, compared to the in the global standard, we are very technologically savvy company. Our the biggest pipeline those days had very high degree of automation, and to the extent of automatic look ahead module for the pipeline, where the simulations used to take place, and we simulate the conditions and see the impact, and accordingly actual process operation starts. So all those things were there. And so sustainable leadership, again, coming back to that, is that a leadership which creates leaders within the organization, because it has to sustain for a longer time. And even for the current leadership, they have to continuously monitor and course correct, because otherwise it cannot get the challenges which are taking place across the world from the various other wars and pandemics, all these things, which is really affecting the businesses also. Now, taking that clue, when we have to be a sustainable leader, we have to be resilient, in fact, resilient in the face of the challenges which are taking place. Now, to develop resilience, what was important? I practiced it for a long time. For developing resilience, we have to, you know, L&D, learning and development, and the continuous learning in the organization for various levels and various teams is most important. And so it's a Peter saying is learning development and organization is an example of that. We try to little bit follow that way. So that was the situation. Now, all these, whatever is terminologies are fashionable today about the sustainable and the long-term developments and all this, it started when we were developing the strategy for the Guild the first time. We started developing a strategy through a Shell's intervention, which is called scenario planning. You must be aware.
Yes.
Scenario planning is basically looking at the not one as a few assumptions and then go ahead and create a strategy and accordingly do that, because the future is uncertain. You cannot use your past experience to solve the future problems. So what we did was, that's a Shell's original model, is that you do the scenario planning, chalk out plausible multiple scenarios, and see that which one will be the best fit today. And if, because there's multiple scenarios that chalked out, plausible scenarios, then if there's an environmental changes in the business environment at global, not the environment in the conventional sense, the business environment or the in the financial economic environment changes, then you accordingly have to course correct for getting into your long-term result. Now, for this, there's a continuous monitoring team was used, who used to continuously monitor the global events, what are taking place and all this, and accordingly signposts are created to check that these signposts are basically happening or not. For example, Donald Trump came in the picture, it changes the entire scenario of the world. So that's a big signpost which will affect everything in business and industries. So these was, in fact, 2004-5, we started at this scenario planning exercise, which is relevant still today. Like these are the processes which are used. The names have changed probably. And for this, today, when I look back and see the technology developments which are taking place, the technology itself has changed so fast, and such enormous applications are created through these technology changes, especially IT, AI, ML, deep learning and all those things. So then I subsequently, from the bottom up, scenario, and in fact, what basically working from the first principle, I started seeing what can be the technology solutions for working from the first principle of basic questions and then go up to deliver the solution. So you must have heard about it's called digital twins.
Okay.
So digital twins are enormous subject in the sense that it will touch any applications and any industry and any institutions, anything. In future, it's already started. Government of India has started developing a platform where they are working on digital twins in its application mainly in infrastructure development, which is the big subject. And infrastructure development, digital twins has huge impact applications. So these are the basically these applications when you use all these including technology and all. So then you can get a sustainable leadership which really make the organization sustainable.
True, sir. So now coming to our next question, how can embracing complexity contribute to overall sustainable leadership and a strategy for commercial and industrial consumers?
Yeah, complexity itself is a order of the day in the sense that so much of uncertainty creates that more complexity, isn't it? Suppose
Yes.
we have some problem and we need to solve that problem. Then we have to first identify what are the problems and what are the environment around that problem which affects the problem and the solution. So in that case, the complexity itself is ingrained into the uncertainty of the situations around you. So that's why complexity basically is a challenge, and also because it gives an opportunity to improve your systems and in your businesses and all these. So that's why mainly, for example, what are the factors which creating the complexity in today's world? All of us know it's started with pandemic and then the environment catastrophes and then the wars in Ukraine and Gaza Strips. All these plus the uncertainties, the big uncertainties that every month the technologies are changing in so fast, with even not even months, even days. That yesterday you learned something and today they are getting irrelevant. So continuous learning and being in touch with the global technology developments are very very important. So those are a part of the learning exercises every organization should take adopt so that they can earlier days what is type when we started the 10 years strategy development. Today, 10 years strategy development is irrelevant.
Yes.
Strategy has to change every year, probably.
Yes.
Uh, so that's why the frequency of the signposts, we used to have signposts that somewhere, some war is taking place. So that war, how it impacts the business world, or somewhere, some catastrophe happened, or whatever. And the leadership changes and Iraq war, Saddam Hussein died, what happens on the oil industry, all those things basically affects your environment. So that's why these learnings and monitoring the signposts, which are very frequent these days, you have to have multiple signposts. Earlier used to have in 10 years probably 20 or 30 signposts will be monitoring. We identified, and these are the signposts. Today, we have to, in 1 year time, we'll have to monitor 100 signposts probably, or more than that, to really, because so much changes in so much uncertainties.
A lot of
So
complexity.
those creates a lot of complexity because
Yes.
these environments creates lots of complexity, and more the complexities come, your challenge becomes difficult, and your arriving at the solutions for the problem becomes much more difficult. But with the advent of the development of technologies and artificial and machine learning, on the other side, it has become easier also. So it gives a balancing act. So it's a must that all industries, all organizations must adopt the.
For next question to you, sir, is what are the key benefits of an organization that successfully integrates sustainable leadership principles into its organization? And does it help to build a strong character for the organization?
Surely, very good question. Um, Basically, the key benefits, if you see, for the organization is that developing a resilient team and resilient management team for a long-term sustainable operation of the company. Now, benefits are basically, if one company doesn't go for a sustainable leadership, then what happens? In fact, they'll not be able to catch up with the changing world, and business has to suffer. There is no doubt about it. And the principles, these sustainable leadership principles are, as we were discussing earlier also, is that basically developing the resilience of the team, creating a learning organization which continuously learns, especially in the advent of digital, disruptions across the world, and that creates now. So that those have to be followed by the organizations, and those are challenge, of course, but with the right interventions, we can advise them to, how to go about it from the starting from again the first principle. I always work on that. So and so far as the character of the organization is concerned, moment an organization becomes a learning organization, the character drastically change because then the and learning organization, in the sense, learning organization is not for a few people learning, but it's across the board. The learning becomes a culture of the organization, continuous learning. In fact, even technician levels in the plants or everywhere. But we have to, our management has to support them in providing the necessary tools and the contents for each type of operation or maintenance philosophies, even in construction, new plant constructions levels also. So that's why character becomes important. The organizational character changes when the learnings continuously affects, and learnings include everything. It's not only uh, hard skill, the soft skills are becoming very, very important. Now, IQ was earlier, a benchmark, but these days, different other parameters are coming. EQ has become very important because, one thing I have practiced and advised organizations that, you see, what happened earlier, and still today, it's prevailing that for any organization, customer is the king. I always believed that this customer, of course, is the king or whatever, but then in the emancipated world today, we can see, we can tell that the queen is the employees. You see, basically, unless we pay attention and develop an empathy towards the
Nice.
the employees and allow them to face failures without any problem management, accepts failures instead of punishing the failures. So these all are the cultural changes which needs to be developed inside the organizations. So cultural change will create the overall character, but overall character will not be changed or transformed in a day or two or years. It will take multiple years, because it's all the more difficult because the environment is becoming such that
Volatile.
volatile, and not only environment volatile in the conventional sense. For example, I'll give you an example. Today's world, the Gen Z or the millennials, basically, what happens, specifically Gen Z, across the world, they have a different kind of attitude. They don't have much of aspirations in life that I'll grow and up the ladder, corporate ladder will go and all these. They have a different priorities in their lives. Like they need some money, they're educated, they're very competent, everything, but they don't stick to an organization because of there's some cultural change between the earlier generations and the generation. Attitude changes. For example, if uh, they are advised by the organization, their bosses or the management about certain shortfalls or drawbacks they have, they don't take it very seriously. Or so what happens? They think that okay, my necessities are minimal and I can survive anywhere I go. So they don't care. In fact, you may be knowing that uh, Google and Amazon, mostly Google, has Amazon also has huge challenge of identifying new recruits that whom they should take. You know, because they will see a competent person through interviews, through problem solvings, and all these. But with this attitude, they can't retain people. You know what? And retention is very important because otherwise it costs money for the organization to train, train people, new fresh people, and then put them in a place, and then they work for some time, and then they go out. So these are all challenges which face problem. So that's why these challenges, and now see, as we were discussing about the development of you know culture and character of the organization. Now, a large section of young people who are in your organization, if they have such an attitude, which attitude comes from the external environment, changing only the internal environment, you will start working on the internal environment, but it doesn't change. It doesn't affect these people unless you have a intervention of that level where as Simon Sinek tells it that starting from the why, what, and how you really can put the interventions. So those aspects are difficult, but nevertheless, every organization has to
Work on
give
it.
it a try, work on it.
Yes.
And there are better ways to develop that. And, like, because as we all know, probably in coming 10 years, 70% of the uh, current employments will be redundant because of the technology.
Yes.
Now that throws a social challenge, that what happens to the unemployments which are going on. So I keep writing on these aspects that you see. Switzerland has tried, I think Denmark or Sweden has also tried that 4 days work week or 3 days work week
Yes.
even in Switzerland. And that gave a grand success in the sense that productivity increases in spite of that.
Yeah.
So these things, all governments of the day needs to give it a serious thinking. Now, question comes that how the organizations will adopt them or accept them. The question is it technology use from the very beginning? For example, I worked on oil and gas, the offshore, drilling and platform development is a huge, costly affairs because it's far away from the shore, 150 kilometers away, deep ocean, and their working is very, very difficult, extremely costly. So on that pretext, the organizations always, including my organization, YGC, when I was working first, they will always tell that no, offshore or drilling is a altogether different ball game. So it costs so much of money, we cannot reduce the prices of oil and gas, the products. Now, I used to internally debate that, you see, the purpose of technology is to why you are using that technology if it is not beneficial to you. Technology's purpose is to increase the productivity, increase, and then when you increase the productivity, your profit level increases. You must share that profit level from that profit level to the with the customers so that you can reduce the price, not reduce the amount of increase what is happening, you can arrest them partially. So these philosophies are there, but like there are oil and gas lobbies which are so much powerful that your bosses will be influenced by something else, or your board or ministry will be influenced by something else. So these challenges are there, but you see, gradually we have to, these advocacies are very, very important with the governments, with the, multilateral organizations, whoever are in the picture. So that's what
Yeah.
about the
So,
character development of the organization.
yeah, true. So now coming to ESG, how does ESG principles help in reduction of cost as well as other as like better management of the organizations?
Mm, Let me add another terminology with this. ESG is a well entrenched principles which are in practice for quite some time. And also, there's another terminology called EHS. You must be knowing it, which is environment, health, and safety. Safety, because industrial safety and is a very important use of that. Now, you see, the organizations benefit in many ways. Their type of organization depends on what type of organization it is. So any organization will be benefited through the ESG because our environment sustainability and is a very important question today. So many big organizations, many big product manufacturers, they are, uh, you know, embracing ESG principles to adopt because otherwise their market will get diminished in future. The companies who are adopting ESG principles and EHS principles, they are looked by the customers, large customers or many customers, not retail, because retail people are not aware that much of the large industrial commercial customers. They will, can add a premium to their products, and those who are not following the ESG principles, their selling their products will become more and more difficult because different principles adopted by different countries of the world, the regulatory principles of the they are adopting, they will bar themselves for many companies to purchase those products and services. So that's why ESG and EHS, like health and safety of people and the machines, the plants, they
Yes.
are all very, very important aspects.
And
So all those needs to be
this is very important in case of construction industry because their health and safety is a priority. So,
absolutely,
because workers work in very adverse situations where there can be a lot of casualties. So, the health of the workers, the safety of the workers becomes a primary concern. So, this
absolutely.
also has to be taken into consideration by those industries. Now, coming to the what advisory does DOS give to organizations wherein yes,
Let me, sorry to
yeah,
intervene.
yeah,
My
yeah,
company's name is DToSS. It is
DToS,
designed to solution services.
yeah, yeah.
Designed to solution services.
Yes, design
DToSS,
to
sir.
solution
Yeah, got
services. So, sorry. So, now what, my next question to you is basically how can organization measure the success and impact of their sustainable leadership initiatives, and what roles do advisors and advisory consultancy companies like design to solution
DToSS.
services, DToS,
Yeah,
play in the
DToSS.
process. Yes.
Yeah, in fact, key challenges which like organization that leadership styles will face is that they will not be able to cope up with the the changing business environment, and so they'll incur loss, in fact, or degrowth, whatever you call it. So the what happened, the advisories when come to them has to embrace a 360-degree interventions always. Uh, Companies should not, in silos, different companies work. And if unless they are all integrated, it will be very, very difficult. For example, let me take the example which you have taken about the construction industries. You see what happens. Uh, Constructions can be, for example, pipelines or plants construction, wherever it is. In fact, I have worked on both the sides, the petrochemical plant, LPG recovery plants, construction, design, commissioning, design, construction, commissioning, operation, maintenance, and then uh, I started in those almost 13 years. I was leading multiple projects as the chief of those projects. So various those experiences, I can tell you the difficulty for. Let me take an example of a plant. When a plant is constructed, what happens? Different stages, different permits are issued to the down below, issued to the managers, or issued by the managers to the technicians or the second level workers. So what happens? There are different teams. For example, there is some welding going on, or some equipment needs to be removed for repair and maintenance, and then put back there. Now, three different teams work on these. For example, some team first will, when the problem is identified, for example, some leakage is going on in some part of the installation, maybe a boiler or things like that. So then what happens after identification, there'll be it has to be rectified. Now, rectification, there can be two things. One is that for it's such an important equipment that plant needs to be shut down. Entire plant needs to be shut down to take it out and repair and maintain and put it back. If there are parallel streams, what happens? We normally in the design stage, important machineries, we keep parallel streams. If one is not working, that's isolated, the other is put on the stream. So that way the plant shutdown doesn't take, because plant shutdown is a huge costly affair. Start up and shut down. Like big plants like fertilizer, petrochemicals, they're enormous plants. It's very difficult. So in that case, so those needs to be considered that whether they're in the design stage itself, that redundancy is where it is produced and all this. And like now when in the construction different teams work, there may be a gap between their communications. Or the permit which is given by to one team, there probably certain important aspect is given that when they were opening that machine, they found something is not correct. So they put a remark on the paper trail report that this suppose there are two streams of boiler A and B. So boiler A is not ready yet. And then they go ahead for their part of removal of this equipment. Now, when it is reinstalled and the operation starts taking it in the stream, the permit which was given to the reinstall and the operations group, they are that warning of the removal, construction removal, equipment removal team is not reflecting. They forgot to reflect that in the team. So this team, after reinstalling, they start the operation of the and they put that machine in the line. And that created, I know a few examples, different type. And such major mistakes in a paper trail, reporting and the thing like that created havoc, huge accident and
Yes.
loss.
Yes.
So these are hazards which needs to be addressed. Otherwise, the gap between
Definitely.
the entire
Yeah, there should be a process in place which has to be followed, and that, the design to solution services can give that process to the industry where they can follow this process, and major accidents and havocs of this kind can be avoided. Along with that, even when any organization, especially when any work is done, there have to be certain parameters which have to be followed. So that advisory role can be done by DToSS and organizations like DToSS who can advise the industry, and this is very much vital. So also I would like to know what is your advice to small and medium enterprises? What the small and medium enterprises should do when it comes to sustainable leadership, how they should run their organization so that with limited resources they can get the maximum output.
absolutely. MSMEs are basically very important part of our development process of the country because they supply or cater to the large industries uh, in the downstream, and MSMEs are not in a very good shape many times because they somehow run the organization. They know that currently they are maximizing their profits through some ways. So they are also, in fact, upgrades how they do that needs to be taken care of. Because basically, let me give an example here also. Basically, I was transferred from my strategy division to Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. I was heading those businesses there. So I was creating business for natural gas. Those days, LNG, natural gas, everybody, all these MSME industries to use diesel or fuel oil for, creating energy, burning their, furnaces, fuel, other equipments for so uh, we had a very tough task. Basically, what happened? Like a ship from Qatar came to India and the Hazira port, and then it was not getting uploaded. Got into the pipeline because the major uh, natural gas consuming industries like other fertilizer plants and the aluminum plants and all these, mainly fertilizers were the major customers that day. They started, playing smart by negotiating. They knew that we are giving huge damage to the ship because of non-off taking of the gas into the pipeline, because they were not ready to take that extra gas. Though they needed it very much, but they were trying to negotiate in price. So that was happening. So my chairman sent me to the Madhya Pradesh because of this purpose fundamentally, that you have to do something to create a natural gas business. Fertilizers not taking. So other smaller companies and industries, MSMEs, all of them mainly, you should develop those businesses and uh, for convince them for taking natural gas. And you will not believe they were so much in comfort zone. We have given presentations to them that how much benefit it will be for you financially and otherwise also, that ease of operation, that we gave complete presentations. My team there, we gave it presentations, but in spite of that, they were not convinced. They were happy with their, existing practice and all this. So I had to adopt as a strategy man. So I had to adopt a strategic approach to, convince them and get them on the, result. So I contacted. They had different kind of equipments in their factories, which consume fuel for burning and heating. So all these equipments, we went to those factories and collected their, names of the manufacturers who has supplied them. All those are in different industries. And then what we did, we contacted those, manufacturers and told them, here is a business opportunity for you to, retrofit or convert this fuel oil driven, furnace to a gas driven furnace.
Yes.
And for that, it's your potential business. So you work on this. That how you will come out with a crystal clear proposal that how we will convert them into this, what is the expenses and what is the benefits out of that, everything you have to work on, and timelines, everything, the finest details, because I was a project management person that time. So I knew that, so I told them that every aspect of it you have to address, and then I will connect you to these companies and you make a presentation there and convince them. It is you do it in such a manner, nobody has any further question. So it's clear cut profit for them. So you create that. So each one of these companies, furnace companies, boiler companies, and all those companies, they created these presentations, presented to me. I corrected them, and then all these ultimately we took them to connected them to these companies
MSME, yeah.
and MSMEs, and then not, not each one of it. I called all these MSMEs through a local, body
Conference.
who were bodies who were
Okay.
under which these MSMEs were there. So through them, called all of them in a single meeting, and it was a day-long meeting from morning to evening, uh, and each company's requirements were addressed through the multiple presentations given by these vendors, and then they are more or less convinced. And then gradually, I told that no, it will not stop there. You people will go in each company and then sit across them with them and find the each bill of material, everything, whatever required new, and all this entire change what is to be done has to be addressed in those meetings, individual meetings, and then all of them are will be there. So listening that, and all these companies agree, listening that, in that meeting itself, 100% of these customers agreed to sign the contract for the natural gas supply, and we were smart enough to, without for losing any time, we were smart enough to create the entire the agreements were company-wise agreements were prepared. I also signed. Only they have to sign. So that condition, then when they agreed, we took out everything for all contractors, and all of them signed in one day. 46 customers signed all those contracts.
That's
So
wonderful.
that so that way we have to
Yes. So this brings
strategize.
me, yeah, this brings me, it's very interesting. So, and it brings me to the next and the last important question of the day. That is how this transition can take place from traditional leadership style to sustainable leadership style, how it should be done.
Uh, First thing is, either they have to the organization with a traditional leadership has to realize that they are not right. They must see the mindsets of many people, many management leaders. They think always that no, 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 we are right. For us, this is okay. They don't realize that what's coming unless they keep in touch with the what's happening around the world. Because again, coming to the same questions, these are not the learning organizations or not the organizations where the learning is important. They are busy in day-to-day activities and trying to increase their profit. That's all. Uh, so they have a even dilemma of that bottom line or top line. Like they want to expand the business, or they are happy with whatever profit they are getting, and they have to increase the profit. That's all. Yeah. So all these various complex things needs to be addressed definitely. Their mindsets needs to be changed, and for that, first thing, as I told, that they have to realize that they are not doing well. They are not in the right track. But वही है ना, मतलब सोने वाले को जगा नहीं जगे हुए जो सोता है उसको जगा नहीं सकते हो. तो सब they know what they don't know. But they will not work.
So,
There are some people who are still worse. They don't know what they don't know. So,
yeah.
they have to be
So a lot.
transformed
So some sort of
through.
hand-holding is required in this direction.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It's a change management process. It's a big change management initiative.
Yes. So I think the government can take initiatives in this direction, and also organizations like Design to Solution Services can also initiate this process, and we can help them to understand that. It's not only leadership now, it's sustainable leadership that is going to help them to survive in the future as well. They have survived till now, but now scenario has changed, and they have to become a more learning organization, and they have to learn on a daily basis and adapt to daily challenges. It's not yearly challenges, it's daily challenges now. Thank you so
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. Thank you so much for your wonderful talk, sir. The pearls of wisdom that you shared with us is really wonderful, and I'm sure the viewers will benefit out of it. Thank you for giving us your precious time. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on your prestigious platform. I'm really indebted. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so much,
sister.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir.